What's going on, Packers fans? Happy Thursday. Welcome into an all-new episode of the Pack-A-Day Podcast. I'm your host, Andy Herman. You can follow me on Twitter at Andy Herman NFL. You can find the podcast app Pack-A-Day Podcast. Thank you so much for joining me. If you haven't checked out today's earlier episode with Justice Mosqueda, cannot recommend that enough. Also, Mark Eckel and Jacob Westendorf on the audio side have a great episode today, so make sure you're checking those out as well. We are presented today by Schreiber Horizon, and we're going to get right into our What's on the Horizon. We've got a flex update for Green Bay. Packers, Bears, December 7th, Lambeau Field has been moved from a noon Central Time to a 3:25 p.m. kickoff. That's going to be the prime game on Fox in the 3:25 window. So this big time rivalry, Packers and Bears, is going to be a premium game on that day. Again, the big Fox game, 3:25. So if you are attending that game, or even if you're not just planning on watching at home, make sure you adjust your schedules accordingly. Again, that's the December 7th game against the Bears that has been moved to 3:25 p.m. Central Time. Probably a good thing for Green Bay. Green Bay hasn't always been super awake for the noon games from time to time. And anytime Green Bay gets some of those big fight field type games, it feels like they're a little bit more up for it. Hopefully that's the case with Chicago. That's going to be a big game coming up in just a couple weeks. Now, I want to tell you about a key part of Schreiber Horizon's suite of solutions. It's called The Hitch. The Hitch is Schreiber Horizon's end-to-end logistics solution, ensuring your product moves safely and efficiently from plant to retail. Schreiber goes beyond basic transportation to deliver a seamlessly integrated distribution experience. From temperature-sensitive freight to customized packaging solutions, Schreiber manages every step with precision, reliability, and care. Here's what you can expect: cost efficiency, scalable support, simplified operations, and of course, trusted expertise. So what are you waiting for? Become part of Schreiber's network. The Hitch doesn't just move product, they connect you to one of the most trusted, well-established distribution networks in the food industry. Backed by decades of Schreiber experience, Schreiber partners with major retailers, reliable suppliers, and expert carriers to ensure your goods get where they need to go efficiently, accurately, and on time. Find out more by snapping a picture of the QR code on your screen or going to schreiberhorizon.com. All right, let's jump into our grades right away. We've got nothing else to go over, so we're going to go right into our grades and key takeaways from the film review. From a key takeaway standpoint, I still felt offensively as I was going through this film that this offense needs to have a greater attention to detail. I talked earlier this week about the play where you had a deep receiver and an intermediate receiver basically covering each other. And, part of it was a receiver that was bumped off of his route, but it still was not exactly crisp and clean. There's the same play where the tight end, Josh Riley, who was supposed to block on the play, and Emmanuel Wilson, who's supposed to get out in the flat, collide, taking away your flat option and taking out the tight end who is supposed to block the free rusher. And now you've got a free rusher on Jordan Love. You had a couple plays up front on the offensive line where you just let a rusher immediately through. Jordan Morgan going the wrong way on one of those plays. You had a couple other instances where I thought routes were very uncrisp and just not ran with the efficiency and effectiveness that you would like to see down the field. Thought the tight ends left a lot to be desired. From a overall effectiveness standpoint of where you want the offense to be in week 11, from a pure attention to details and running the plays the way that they're supposed to be run, I didn't think this was good enough for Green Bay. It gets you by New York and New York. And kudos to the offense in general. Again, I thought Matt LaFleur did a good job of putting his players in positions to be successful. They put up 27 points. Should have been more if you make your extra points. And, I thought they were consistently, able to get it to spots where they could convert, including some key drops on third downs. But players have to go out and execute. And it's Matt LaFleur's responsibility to get these players executing at the level they need to. This, to me, was another example of it's not there yet. It's not to say it can't get there. You don't want to be playing your best football in November. You want to be playing it in December, January, and hopefully February. But in order to be able to play those big time games and to have real signs or proof of concept that you can do that, you'd like to see some of that stuff coming together a little bit more in week 11 of an NFL season and not having some of these just mistakes that are continuing to happen. And I'm not even talking about like the drops or things like that. It's just executing the play, understanding the play and knowing what you're supposed to be doing on it. That stuff is like preseason stuff. That should not be happening in week 11. On the plus side, I did think that the offensive line looked better in this game. Only one offensive lineman graded in the negative. We'll get to that in just a moment. Everyone else was positive or better. I thought that was a really good step in the right direction. I thought this was one of Zach Tom's best games of the season. I thought it was Aaron Banks' best game of the season. It might have been Jordan Morgan, despite what I just mentioned, might have been his best game of the season. So there were some signs on the offensive line of a little bit more continuity, a little bit more cohesion, and it just felt like they were up to the task a little bit more. Now, the Giants' defensive line is interesting. They were missing a lot of guys, but they still had their top three. They still had Abdul Carter, Dexter Lawrence, and Brian Burns. From a pass rush standpoint, those three can cause a lot of problems. I thought for the most part, Dexter Lawrence, a few plays here or there excluded. I thought they handled those three pretty well throughout the course of the day. And from a run blocking standpoint, it was okay. And I'm not going to put too much emphasis even into the fact that it looked a little bit better in the run game, because this is arguably the worst run defense in all of football. And it wasn't exactly a dynamic run game from Green Bay. So still work to be done. But just from a pure like overall aesthetic standpoint and how I thought they protected and blocked throughout the course of the game, it at minimum, it felt like a step in the right direction. Hopefully a sign of things to come there. Back to the negative side, and on the flip side, I thought the defensive line low-key had some real issues in this game against the Giants offensive line that quite frankly isn't that good. I thought the interior of the defensive line, Carl Brooks was the only one that graded in the positive. I thought he had a nice game, but everyone else, Colby Wooden, Devontae Wyatt, Nasir Stackhouse, you're going to hear their names in just a little bit. Not great games from those three. Warren Brinson didn't do much. And then at defensive end, it was Micah Parsons and then not much else. Barron Sorrell was fine in the very few snaps that he got, but I thought low-key the defensive line was, and we talked about it from a pass rush standpoint all week long, so that point wasn't low-key. We know that it was just basically Micah Parsons or bust from a pass rush standpoint, but even in run defense, I know it was like 3.77 yards per carry and things like that, but a lot of that was like safeties coming up, and Evan Williams, will talk about him making some plays. I thought the linebackers were okay in this game, but I thought especially on the interior of the defensive line, this was the worst game of the year on the interior of the defense. Hopefully that's not a sign of things to come, because you can't be bad in the trenches on both sides, especially in the run game. That would be pretty devastating for Green Bay. So you're going to need Wyatt and Wooden and Brooks and Brinson and Stackhouse and friends to step up a little bit. I did not think this was their best overall performance. Now let's get to those overall grades. Top three on offense. Number one, Jordan Love, plus 3.15. He was fantastic. We've talked about it this week. It was PFF's highest grade that they ever gave Jordan Love as well. I wouldn't put it above the Dallas Cowboys game, but he was tremendous. And now I need to see, because I didn't exactly look at it either to see if I actually graded it better than the Dallas Cowboys game. No, I did have the Dallas Cowboys game graded. It was a 3.80 for the Cowboys game that I gave Love. This was a 3.15. So pretty dang close. I mean, as far as like negatives go in this game for Jordan, there's the deep ball down the field that him and Golden just didn't feel like they were on the same page on. Maybe the throw could have been a little bit better. Maybe the route could have been a little bit better, but there was a disconnect there of some regard. I mean, honestly, I would have liked to see him slide down instead of taking the hit that got him injured in this game. I mean, outside of that, you're talking about just nitpicking anything at this point. There was, I think, a completion that was maybe just a little bit behind the receiver. But overall, I mean, pinpoint accuracy. And yeah, the box score doesn't look super sexy. And yes, it's just against a Giants defense that quite frankly isn't that good. I get that. I understand that. It doesn't have the same stakes as a NFC, a playoff game against the Cowboys or anything like that. And the Giants defense is generally bad. But given the circumstances, meaning 7 drop passes by his wide receivers, given the circumstances, meaning he left this game with a pretty bad shoulder injury, given the circumstances, meaning the winds were completely swirling and made it very difficult to throw and kick and everything else on the day, I thought he was beyond tremendous. And game on the line, clutch situations, he came up with the touchdown in the end zone to Christian Watson, the huge third down play to Savion Williams. He refused to let this team lose. Even after that big play to Savion Williams, they get pushed back. It's a 1st and 20. He has a couple big completions, including that touchdown to Watson after that, to erase a 1st and 20 deficit that they faced on that particular drive. There's just, you go through play by play in this game, and it's just plus play, plus play, plus play, plus play, one after the other. I don't know that there's any one throw in this game. Maybe the Savion Williams one, maybe the Christian Watson touchdown, but I don't know if there's like one throw that you're going to put on like the ultimate Jordan Love highlight reel of like, oh my God, look what he did on this play. I love the play where he stepped up in the pocket and then slung it kind of sidearm to just lead Romeo Doubs just barely into the right. I mean, the play that we talked about where guys are colliding into each other and running the bad routes, he still finds Romeo Doubs, drops a dime to him, and unfortunately, Doubs drops that one. He like even the play where it snapped at his feet, he goes down, picks it up, doesn't panic, gets back up, and throws to Musgrave. It would only been like a 2-yard gain on the play, but that's a lot of times where the quarterback just goes and covers the football and just dives on it. It's like a 5-yard loss, and now you're 2nd and 15, or I don't know what the down and distance was on that play. But now you're getting it to Musgrave. You're going to get what should have been a 2 or 3 yard pickup and, sort of salvaging the drive and keeping yourself in a manageable down and distance. Just everything he did in this game came up positive, except again, a few very, very minute negatives in this game. That's all you can do as a quarterback. And again, especially when it came to the clutch situations, I thought he was fantastic and just would not let this team lose. That's what you want from your franchise quarterback. Can't ask for much more from Jordan in this game, plus 3.15 and a epic performance from him. Number 2, Christian Watson, plus 1.00. I personally, we always go, I don't know why I choose the negative first, because then I think I can just reel off all the positives. But I did count the play down the right sideline as a drop. The defender's there. They make a little bit of a play on it. Christian, I think, would be the first one to tell you, I've got to catch the ball and make that play. There's another gorgeous throw by Jordan in that situation. I think Christian, again, would tell you, yep, got to catch that one. But the play he made in the end zone for Malik Willis on that touchdown, I mean, that's going through 3 people. That's going through, it's coming from Willis. And then I think there's even somebody trying to bat it down at the line. And then you've got, and maybe there isn't, but either way, then you've got the Romeo Doubs and his defender that go right past him, plus his defender, and then him, and then he holds onto it, and the defender's like ripping at it, trying to rip his arms apart, knock the ball away, and just to like vice grip that thing, because he knows if he goes to the ground, if that thing comes out, no touchdown, right? So to hold on to it the entirety of the time and just have the concentration to come up with that catch, my goodness, what a beautiful play there. And then again, you need it most. Christian Watson down the right sideline, end zone. Beautiful touchdown play by Christian Watson there. I mean, he only ends up, I think, with like 4 catches for somewhere 40 to 50 yards in this game, but big moments, big plays, 2 touchdowns. And, quite frankly, as we've kind of talked about this week, they need to get Christian Watson more involved in this offense. He needs to be the guy. You don't have Tucker Kraft. Josh Jacobs is beat up. Romeo Doubs is in a little bit of a slump. Dontavian Wicks hasn't really been that playmaker for you. Matthew Golden is banged up and hasn't found a way to break out. It's Christian Watson season, and it should be a big time emphasis to getting him the football right now. He's been fantastic, plus 1.00 grade for him in this game. And then I talked about it earlier, Zach Tom, I thought it was his best game of the season, plus 0.7 grade. This is no easy task. You've got Abdul Carter and Brian Burns in this one, and you've got your hands full in a pass protection game against those two, and Tom was fantastic. I thought he was good in the run game. I thought he was fantastic in the pass blocking game. Just gave Jordan time in some of those plays where, like on the Savion Williams throw, where he's got to sit in the pocket for a while. Zach and, amongst the other offensive linemen are just holding their blocks the entirety of that time. Zach was like that for the majority of this game. A couple plays you would like that back, but remember, Zach even left this game for a little bit with the back injury. He has not been healthy. You can tell he is fighting through some stuff. He wants to be out there for his teammates. And I thought this was, even despite the injury situation, his best game of the year, plus 0.7 grade for him. Bottom 3 on offense, it will surprise you absolutely not at all that Luke Musgrave was my lowest graded offensive player, negative 0.75. I do agree with Matt to some extent where there was some decent stuff from Luke in this game. I thought as a blocker, he gave good effort. That you can't be on year 3 of a 2nd round pick at tight end and be like, hey, you gave a good effort on a couple blocks. That's not enough. And I do think Green Bay needs to use him differently. It felt like they just kind of, hey, do the Tucker Kraft thing. And that's not going to work with Luke. That's the antithesis of who he is. But you can't have 2 plays in the flat where you just look so uncomfortable and so uncoordinated, where you're either dropping the ball or fumbling the ball and or both, or it just is a gray area between which one it actually is. You just got to catch the ball. I mean, if you get the ball in the flat in that situation, you're expected to like catch the ball and like make a play. And that seems like foreign to Luke Musgrave right now. It's just, can you catch the ball and not have something catastrophic happen? It was a tough game. They need more from him. I understand why Matt, to some extent, said like, hey, we need to continue to get him more involved. Okay, But to me, deep seam routes and intermediate to deep crossers, let him use his speed. He's not going to give you anything after the catch. He's not giving you much as a blocker or anything as a blocker. Too much of a net negative for Luke Musgrave. He's my lowest graded non-offensive line player on offense this year. Needs to be better from him. This was a tough one for Luke. Romeo Doubs, quietly having a rough stretch of games here. He did come up with some big catches in this game. We talked about the one that Love improvised on and threw sidearm and got it to him in the open. That was great. Converted, I think, another first down in this game. He had a nice block on Emmanuel Wilson's touchdown run. There's some good stuff in this game from Romeo. There's also 3 drops, including one on a key third down opportunity that forced them to punt the ball away. It's a turnover. Like, let's call it what it is in that situation. Jordan makes a phenomenal play, gets you the football to convert on a 3rd and 10, and you drop it. That is a turnover. That is akin to Jordan Love throwing an interception. Yes, you get to, so it's a deep interception. We'll put it that way. So, if it's an interception pick 6 or an interception where you get it in plus territory, it's a little bit different. You at least get to punt the ball away, but you're turning the ball over because of a drop pass. That's got to get cleaned up. And to have 3 drops in the same game is brutal. Absolutely brutal for Doubs. And I haven't loved the route running from him as of late either. Feel like he struggled a little bit to get off of some coverage. They need him to step up, especially this week. There is no Tucker Kraft. Josh Jacobs, we'll see. It looks like he's trending towards, at least playing some this week against Minnesota. Golden's beat up. Savion Williams is beat up. Like, this has got to be Watson and Doubs. That's got to be the tag team duo that's bringing you victories on offense right now. Well, that's a scary thing to think about or not, but they need Romeo. We've seen really good Romeo. We've seen really, really good Romeo. We need to see that again. I think these last couple of weeks has been a little bit of a slump. And then the 3rd lowest graded player, Josh Wiley, -0.4. There's some good stuff. The touchdown catch, Josh does really nothing on that play. Watson picks the player, apparently unintentionally, and Wiley just has to catch. I mean, you catch that, I catch that. That's a pretty easy situation for Wiley there. But he caught it. He did get the touchdown. I did like some of the stuff he did from the fullback position. But we talked about the play. He and Emmanuel Wilson run into each other. He causes him to miss a block. And then there's a huge holding penalty that he has right after that, completion to Savion Williams. I think that's the one. I may be confusing 2 holding plays in this game, but I think that's the one where Wiley gets the holding penalty. I think they were going to have a big run to the outside, and Wiley gets a hold and it puts him in 1st and 20. So just a couple negatives with not a ton of positives to kind of counterbalance it. But -0.4 for Wiley. I like some of the stuff I saw from an athletic standpoint and what I think he might be able to bring to this team. But from a grade standpoint, didn't end up being great, in large part due to a penalty and just some stuff that I thought he could have done a little bit better from the route running, the attention to detail sort of stuff. A lot of noteworthy players on offense. First of all, Malik Willis, plus 0.35, did everything he could have, gets one drive, goes down and scores a touchdown. I'm not sure that the touchdown throw is the most advisable throw in that situation. He said, or at least Matt said, that Malik told him he didn't even see Romeo or the defender. His read, just based on Christian, is perfect. He sees Watson cut back at the last second, puts it on him, and then Watson just got to go make the play, which he did. But Doubs and the defender crossing that, that more often than not is just going to get knocked down, which isn't the worst thing in the world. He's trying to give his receiver a chance, but may have got a bit lucky that ball fit into there for the touchdown, and Watson really paid it off with the vice grip hands to make sure that thing didn't get deflected or batted away. But again, the 16-yard run on 3rd down for a huge conversion, again, the touchdown pass in and of itself, he did what he was supposed to. He came in, no panic, no anything, like no nervousness of going. He just came in, led the offense, scored it, helped them score a touchdown, threw a touchdown pass, gave it back to Jordan. Jordan took over from there. Awesome performance from Malik Willis. Hey friends, time to get our sleeper picks in for week 12. I'm going with a Sunday matchup that has a lot of implications in the AFC, Indianapolis and Kansas City. Let's kick it off right away. Travis Kelce, fewer than 49.5 receiving yards. He's been pretty good as of late, but I think Indianapolis is going to keep him in check. Patrick Mahomes, fewer than 271.5 passing yards. It's a lot of yards in the modern NFL. I know the Colts defense has been a little bit up and down, but I think they hold Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce in check. And then on the flip side, Jonathan Taylor, this is a must win for Kansas City. They have to find a way to beat Indianapolis, and I think they'll do that by keeping Jonathan Taylor in check. So Travis Kelce, fewer than 49.5 receiving yards. Patrick Mahomes, fewer than 271.5 passing yards. And Jonathan Taylor, fewer than 88.5 rushing yards. Make sure that you get your picks in over at Sleeper. Plus, right now, you can get a 100% match up to $100 by utilizing code PACKETDAY. Yes, a 100% match up to $100 by utilizing code PACKETDAY. Terms and conditions apply. Check out Sleeper for details. Available in over 25 states nationwide. So what are you waiting for? Get your picks in right now. Chris Brooks, plus 0.4, in large part due to a absolutely epic pass blocking performance on one particular play. It's as good of a pass block as I've ever seen. I mean, just stonewalling and moving his feet, and not only like keeping the defender at bay, but he like moves the defender like completely out of the play. Rough play for that defender. Awesome play for Chris Brooks. Manuel Wilson, plus 0.15. I thought he was fine. I thought there were a couple plays, or at least one play in pass pro would have liked to have had back. I thought as a runner, he was okay. There was a couple plays where I thought he could have got more out of it. A couple plays where I thought he did really well to get as many yards as he did. Had the nice touchdown run. Solid, good, average-ish day from Emmanuel Wilson. And again, the big thing is you're coming in for Josh Jacobs in a game where it's tight, it's contested, and you've got to be the guy at running back. I thought Wilson overall handled that pretty darn well. Savion Williams, plus 0.4 grade on the back of really his big third down conversion, only had 2 plays on offense. Matthew Golden, plus 0.15. I continue to say and tell you, he's doing good stuff out there. It's just not paying off yet. It's going to. He is my highest graded wide receiver on the year. Now, Christian's right there in like 4 games. They're almost equal. But he's well ahead of Romeo Doubs, despite not getting any of the opportunities that really Romeo's getting. I know he's hurt right now, so that's a different conversation, a different topic. That's why they can't utilize him as much. Get him healthy. He needs to be one of the top receivers in this offense. He's doing good stuff. You got to find a way to get him the ball. He's just too talented to kind of be a bystander at this point. So find a way to get him a little bit more involved. Tight ends, we talked about Musgrave and Josh Wiley. Tight ends were a negative 1.2. Just sucks. You went from this being a superpower with Tucker Kraft to now being a huge deficit. They've got to figure out a way to at least try to break that even a little bit more. Fitzpatrick was a negative 0.05, so he was closest to even. He was by far and away, to me, the best tight end on the day for Green Bay. Aaron Banks, I mentioned, I thought it was his maybe best game of the year, plus 0.35 grade. Really nice performance from him overall. A couple plays where, he got beat. I think he fell down on one play. It's not perfect yet, but if that was the Aaron Banks plus 0.35 grade that you got week in and week out, it might still not be like a good signing, but you're like, all right, I can understand it. Like it's fine. It's a fine signing of Aaron Banks if he plays at that level. We just need to see some level of consistency from him, because you just kind of don't know which Aaron Banks is going to show up each week from now on, or so far, I should say. But if this is the Banks that you can get, that's a very good version of him. I'd be very pleased with that moving forward. Thought this was a good game for him. Jordan Morgan, plus 0.1, had the one play where he went the wrong way. Some still young rookie, not rookie, but you get like basically first year offensive line stuff that you would like to see get cleaned up. He's such an interesting player to me because you watch him closely. There's some good plays on tape, and I keep kind of expecting it to be this sort of train wreck. And maybe that's just my fault, or I don't know if I'm expecting like Byron Bell, just because you see some like really bad plays from him, or I'm just expecting it's going to be a little bit more of that more often. And really, the truth is, there's really some good stuff mixed in with Jordan Morgan. This is not just a lost cause. This is not just somebody who's getting beat consistently. He's getting beat too often, and he needs to clean up his overall game. He needs to put on functional strength. But there is something there. There is something there, and I thought this was overall a net positive performance, even if ever so slightly, from Jordan Morgan. And then Sean Ryan, negative 0.3 for his first true start at center, and going against Dexter Lawrence for the vast majority of the day. And Lawrence getting the better of him on a couple of like nuked plays where he just, sheds Sean Ryan super easy. All things considered, I think this is a win for game 1 for Sean Ryan. as Mike Wall and I talked about, if anything, it wasn't like a huge degradation from Elton Jenkins. Jenkins was not having a good season at center, but it felt pretty similar. And number two, for game one, and again, going against Dexter Lawrence, I would have taken this, I think, going into the game. That's why it's important to understand the context of the grades too. Yeah, he was my lowest graded offensive lineman on the day. He's playing a new position and he's going against one of the best defensive tackles in football. You know, there's sometimes there's a reason for this stuff. But overall, if I were to give like a pass fail grade for Sean Rhyan, even though this is a negative, I would probably give him a passing grade given the circumstances that he had to play in this one. All right, top three on defense. Micah Parsons plus 1.20 has the half sack with Isaiah McDuffie, has the play at the end with the sack and the forced fumble. That's on the Hail Mary play. I'm not going to give a massive grade for that, but he still ended the game right there. And I just thought overall had to play, like, I think the first play of the game is a tackle that he had in the run game right at the line of scrimmage. And then I thought he played the run well. I thought he was active in the passing game, and he just got doubled so freaking much. There are a couple plays where he actually did get blocked one-on-one in this game and actually got blocked, which is extremely rare. I mean, the bar that he has set for himself, that like on like maybe two plays he got blocked one-on-one and he actually got blocked, which like happens to everyone else like 40 times a game if you're a starter. And like the fact that you saw two of them and you're like, oh my God, like they actually blocked him one-on-one a couple times. That's the sick, insane bar that he has set for himself. But he was still by far and away, the most impact defender in this game. And just another fantastic performance from Micah Parsons. Evan Williams plus 0.55, one PFF and I disagreed on. Yeah, he gave up a completion. I think he had a missed tackle or two, at least one he could have wrapped up a little bit better on in this game. I said it to Justice earlier today, if you're listening to this on Thursday. He is everywhere. He is absolutely everywhere. I mean, just, I know you don't have the, all 22 when you're watching it live. Just watch Evan Williams from the safety position as he creeps into the play. He's getting involved all the time. His motor is nonstop. I love the way he plays the game. He's constantly around the football. And then, of course, seals it with a big-time interception at the end of this one as well. Another really impressive performance from Evan Williams. And then Carrington Valentine plus 0.25. If he just could have hung on to those interceptions, it would have been a potentially monster grade for Carrington Valentine in this game. I think maybe both of those could have been pick sixes. Certainly, I think one of them could have. He's playing really good football, though. I love the way he's covering. You're not completing anything on him right now. He's become a little bit better as a tackler. And overall, even though he had a couple opportunities at picks that he literally let slip through his fingertips, another positive performance from Carrington Valentine. Bottom three on defense, all on the interior of the defensive line. Colby Wooden, by far and away, I thought his worst game of the year. I love what Colby's given this team so far, but a negative 1.00 grade. I did not think he held up well at the point of attack in run defense. He got in some double teams, got pushed off the ball more than he has so far this year. I don't know if he's just kind of like, this is a lot of snaps for Colby Wooden that he has not been used to, really since maybe even some of his days in college. I don't know if he's starting to wear down a little bit more. There's a lot on his plate as, somebody who put on weight in the offseason to be around, a little over 300, to kind of hold up as their primary run defender through the course of the year. It might just be a lot to ask on him. They might need to rotate him a little bit more. Hopefully it was just a one-off and, it's not anything we need to worry about moving forward, but got moved off the ball and then just didn't have any juice as a pass rusher in this game. Got blocked up. There's a couple times where he was the guy that got singled up with the opportunity to get to the quarterback and just could not get off the offensive lineman. So I thought this was a tough one for Wooden. Devontae Wyatt, he was PFF's lowest graded defender in this game. I didn't think he was quite as bad as PFF had him out to be, but it has been a rough 2 weeks for Devontae Wyatt since coming back from that injury. Almost no pass rush productivity. And I think the run defense has taken a step back from where it was earlier this year, where I was super pleased with where it was. And he was being an impact pass rusher. And now it's just like you're kind of getting neither of them. They need him to be an impact player. He is not these past 2 weeks, and he's got to get back to that form he was in earlier this season. And then sticking with interior defensive lineman, Nasir Stackhouse, negative 0.35. PFF had a slight positive grade, if I remember correctly, on Stackhouse. So again, eye of the beholder stuff. You're not seeing him make plays out there. There's a couple plays where I think he does a nice job of stacking at the line of scrimmage and setting it, and you're not moving him, which is really good stuff, especially for UDFA. There's some signs there, no question, but it's not often enough. And too many times he's just getting moved off the ball and he's not making any plays. So when he does have negatives, it's tough to negate them with positives because he's not getting those plays in run defense and certainly not as a pass rusher. So just makes it a little bit tough, but interior of the defensive line, rough week. Colby Wooden, Devontae Wyatt, and Nasir Stackhouse, all three in my bottom three. Not many noteworthy on defense. Rashawn Gary and Kingsley Enagbare, both negative 0.15. That's just, again, you need more from both of them. Enagbare had one more snap than Gary. Mike is doing all the heavy lifting. You're not getting much from Wyatt. Again, rough grade in this one. PFF's lowest grade of the game for the Packers was Wyatt. My lowest grade on defense, or on offense for that matter, was Colby Wooden, interior defensive line. And then if Enagbare and Gary are grading the negative, that's just a lot of pressure put on Micah Parsons to do all the heavy lifting. Parsons did everything he could, but again, you need more from that defensive line. And then Keyshawn Nixon, plus 0.15, had a couple completions that he gave up, but they were pretty short completions. Did have a couple really nice pass breakups, though, in this game. Thought he played the run and tackled pretty well in this game. So solid, not spectacular, but solid game overall for Keyshawn Nixon, who is, I think, grading much better than from both PFF and I than I think people would expect him to. He's having a fine season. Again, do you probably want him as your number one? No, but kind of Carrington is kind of playing that way anyway. Nixon as a number two, not terrible at the moment. So I like this game from Keyshawn overall. Recapping it, top three on offense: Jordan Love, Christian Watson, Zach Tom. Bottom three: Luke Musgrave, Romeo Dobbs, Josh Wiley. Top three on defense: Micah Parsons, Evan Williams, and Carrington Valentine. Bottom three: Colby Wooden, Devontae Wyatt, and Nasir Stackhouse. On the season so far, my top three players on offense: Jordan Love, plus 11.3. Tucker Kraft, still tear to my eye, plus 5.30. Josh Jacobs, number three, plus 4.95. Bottom three on offense: Jordan Morgan, negative 3.4. Rasheed Walker, negative 1.95. And Darian Kennard, negative 1.75. Top three on defense: Micah Parsons, plus 8.40. Evan Williams, plus 3.75. Edgerrin Cooper, plus 3.40. And then bottom three on defense: Nate Hobbs, negative 1.85. Nasir Stackhouse, negative 1.05. And Carl Brooks, negative 0.65. That's all I got for you guys today. I will be back tomorrow morning with Carmen Vitale. Make sure to check that out. Happy hour, 3 p.m. Central Time on Friday. Make sure you're checking out that as well. And again, if you didn't check out today's episodes with Justice Mosqueda or the audio version with Mark Eckel and Jacob Westendorf, highly recommend you check out those as well. Shout out to our All-Pro and Hall of Fame members: PJ Wynn, John Wild, Brendan Paletta, Boom Handle, Donna Lee, Lori Lord, Baby QB, David McCluskey, Donald Decker, Alex Hwang, Peter Ritaka, Jay Zimmerman, B. Brown, Puerto Rican Packer, Dan Gassford, SoCal Pack, Chris Rager, Izzy Roberts, Ian Ewing, Carlo Delgado, Willie Winklestinkle, The Gable Storm, Pack Attack Cast, Chris Weish, Craig, John D. Metropolis, Hayden Radomski, Devin Lane, Gonzusa, Alexander Newell, Dan Miller, Bill Reinhart, Richard Morales, Les Nino, and Beast Bumblebee. I will see you guys all very, very soon. But until next time, and as always, go Pack Go.